Let's put our hands together for our next presenter, Miss Neglasari Martini from Indonesia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is like the worst ever time to do a presentation just after lunch. I hope you can bear with me. So, like as I've been introduced, I'm from Asia Pulp Paper. So I think we've had a lot of talks about how the digital age is now coming, but I'm from one of those who still believes that paper will still have a big role in our lives for the many, many more years and decades to come. So, as mentioned, APP, we are one of the largest pulp and paper manufacturers in the world. So, our main operation is in Indonesia and in China. So we have 9 mills in Indonesia and more than 20 mills in China. And we have a very, very big concessions area in Indonesia where we source our fibers from. So as of 2013, we are the largest paper and board manufacturers in the world. So this is based on the RISI data in 2012. So, if we are talking about paper, right, which is, I'm sure, I think like the speakers before me has mentioned, there are some things about paper that is just irreplaceable with digital. You know, the way paper feels personal to you when someone writes a letter to you, or, you know, your graduation certificates, it doesn't feel the same if your graduation certificate is in digital format rather than it's in paper formats, right? But paper industry has these ongoing concerns or issues about deforestation. So people asking, where is your paper comes from? Is it from, you know, cutting off all this forest that is habitat of, you know, orangutans or tigers? Where does it actually comes from? Are you one of the people who makes, you know, the forest cover in the world, you know, dramatically lessens? So this is the type of questions, the type of allegations that we need to answer every day as a paper company. Deforestation is not actually just a paper company issue, it's everyone's business. It's our business as a manufacturer to make sure that we source our fibers from the right place. It's your business also as a consumers to make sure that you buy the right paper, that you buy the paper that you know comes from good sources. What is the solutions for deforestation? This is an old age questions, and this is not a thing that anyone has a clear you know answer what to do. Like most people will say, well, just leave the forest as it is. Don't develop it. Just leave it alone. Then you will save the forest from deforestation, right? But that's not actually the answers. Let's take example for Indonesia. We are currently a still developing countries. We still need to develop our economy. So the government obviously sees forest as something that is very important to improve our economic conditions. That's why they have allocated forests as production forests. And then there's also forest as a conservation. The second thing why just leaving forest alone doesn't really work, because Indonesia has a very, very huge land of forest. Just APP concession alone, we have 2.6 million hectares of forest. That's like, I don't know, maybe 35 times the size of Singapore. So it's very, very, very big. So there's a lot of resources that is needed to manage the forest. You cannot, the issue if you are just leaving the forest alone is that there are people who lives in the forest. There are people who see the forest as an opportunity for them to improve their economic conditions. That's why they see, oh, this forest is not guarded. This is no man's land, and then maybe I can open this land by burning or by, you know, deforesting, encroachment. That is the thing that the forestry players, that is the government of Indonesia, facing every day in terms of managing the forest. So how can us as an industry players can contribute to this fighting deforestation. So in APP, we recently have announced what we call as a forest conservation policy. So in our policy, we are committing that we will no longer develop what do you call it, production forests or plantations forests from opening natural forest area. So this is the first one is about zero deforestation. We make sure that all of our fibers comes from established plantations or comes from an area that we know where it comes from. So right now, all of our suppliers, we have 38 suppliers in Indonesia, spread in Sumatra and Kalimantan. They are no longer opening, no longer making new what do you call it, plantations areas. So they are only working on the established plantation to supply us with the fiber. The second thing is about peatland management. This is very, if I explain about peatland, it can get very technical, but peat is basically a type of soils that is, contains a lot of organic materials, that it contains a lot of carbons. So maybe you heard a lot, if peat area is not managed well, it will, you know, emit a lot of greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases emission. Oh my God, it must be because of the lunch. I'm struggling to speak right now. So so peat, that's why we need to manage the peat well, because this is also to support the commitment by the government of Indonesia to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions by 2020 by 26% by our own effort, or by 41% by international cooperations. The fourth one is about community engagement. As I mentioned, a lot of people living in the area, we need to, why they open the land, why they open the forest, it's because they need, you know, income. They need an area where they can plant their crops, where they can get their livelihood. So this is where we work with the community engagement. We make sure they have either an alternative livelihoods, or you know, how to manage, how they can manage the forest resources well. The third one is responsible suppliers. APP, we don't just source fibers from Indonesia, we source fibers all over the world. This is because in Indonesia, we can only grow fibers, short fibers, where when you're making paper, you need long fibers also to tie everything together. So all the long fibers needs to come from temperate regions, which is from the west, from the temperate climate, so North America, Canada, Western Europe, and so on. So this is our commitment in our efforts to protect the forest area where our concessions is located. How does it compare? So all of our suppliers right now, as of this moment, we are no longer doing any natural forest clearance, even though it's actually in our legal obligations, because we got the license from the government to actually develop this area into production forest, but we don't do it. So we only work on the established plantations. And how it compares, basically the Consumer Goods Forum, which is a very big forum, a consortium of consumer goods in the world, Unilever, P&G, Nestle, and so on. And also WWF, I'm sure no one here that doesn't know about WWF. They are campaigning to end deforestation by 2020. So as of we are doing now, we are doing very well in terms of achieving this target. Because we are aware that just maintaining our own concession is not enough for to do a real conservation effort. We have what this one is newer than a newer policy, which is a 1 million hectare commitment, 1 million hectares forest restorations and protections commitments. What we are doing is actually we are taking this 10 landscape across Sumatra and Kalimantan. This landscape is basically outside our concession area. So this is actually not our legal obligations to manage this area. But we are working together with NGOs such as Greenpeace, WWF, and also many local NGOs to work on, this is a very critical area in terms of biodiversity, forest conservation, and so on. So we work on these 10 landscapes, 8 in Sumatra and 2 in Kalimantan, located near where our concession is. And then we work together with the NGOs, the local communities, and also the government on how the best practice management is in terms of forest management. As a customer, you're probably wondering, how do I know all these things? I mean, I just know you as APP. I just want to buy the paper. So one of the way for you to know is to look at. Oh, sorry. To look at this PEFC is one of paper certifications. I'm sure as printer practitioners, you know a lot about these certifications. What it does, it basically give the consumer assurance that this product with this logo comes from responsible sources. So PEFC itself in a product has been going on in Indonesia for a long time, but unfortunately before this year, we still have to import a lot of PEFC materials from overseas, including from overseas, from all over the world. So that's why when you buy PEFC certified materials from Indonesia, probably it has a higher price premium than the others. But this year, the IFCC, I'm sorry about a lot of abbreviations here, but this is a new certifications of forest in Indonesia. It just has been recognized by the PEFC. So now, as of APP's concessions, we have 300,000 hectares of APP plantation already able to supply PEFC certified woods. A further 1 million hectares will be added by the end of this year. So we are right now in the process of certifications. What this means is basically as of this year, we are able to source locally. We don't need to import as much as PEFC fiber as we used to. So hopefully this will improve the capacity of our productions in terms of producing PEFC certified materials and lower the price premium, because obviously we source it locally instead of having to transport it from overseas. It's not all, all bed of roses in APP with all this our policy, our FCP policy. As you know, maybe you've heard a lot about how Greenpeace, WWF now in a better situation with us, because we can show that we are actually doing this. This is not just a public relations stunt. We are actually doing this and implement and already invest in hundreds of millions of dollars for this conservation purpose. But we still have this. We still have these lots of issues that we still have to manage. Chief of all is third-party clearance of forests by the parties that we cannot control, so such as the community that encroach into our area and so on. So how we want to solve this is what's important for deforestation to be solved is by a multi-stakeholder partnerships. As much as we can invest, APP, at the end of the day, we are just one company. We cannot do the huge amount of efforts that is needed to end deforestation in Indonesia. So we need cooperation. We need collaboration with the government, with the companies that own the land around our areas, with the customer to know how we can work together, to how you can contribute in our efforts in making sure the deforestation is kept being as low as possible in our operation in the pulp and paper industry. So to close my presentation today, I just want to emphasize again, this is a very good chance for all of the pulp and paper industry, including the printers industry, to also work together to contribute on how this industry can actually be seen as the savior of forests in the world. How we can work together to do it. It's very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Neglasari.